right, today is November 7th, 2020. It is 4 p.m. This is the Random Ass Radio Show. But today, because it was the land sale for Splinterlands, and I'm involved in the Splinterlands project, we're going to go be talking about the Splinterlands Landsale. I know that there were some frustrated players today, and so I thought that I would go through and let people ask some questions and talk to me. And you know, some of this I imagine is venting. I know that there are some people that are pretty frustrated with me, or just how this thing went, or why it went the way it did, or parts that were good, parts that were bad, and how you know, there's lots of different ways. So my one request is that when you talk to me, I just want you can be frustrated, and you can be, you can feel however you feel. I would just ask that you treat me like a friend or a human, like a good person. I didn't mean to cause harm. We did what we thought would be good enough. I think it's pretty clear that the response to this thing was way overwhelming. In terms of like beyond anything, even our, I'm like a blue sky dude. I think everything we do is gonna moon, and this far surpassed my expectations. And Matt, who is not a blue sky moon guy, but everything is going to fail, and it's always going to be frustrating, and it's never going to work the right way. He set up with a. In case there's enough people, it's going to work like this. In case there's not, it'll work like this. And he's diligent about what he does. But this definitely, this blew out all of our expectations. So what I typically do for this stuff is, if anybody wants to come on air, you are welcome to come on air. And you need a working microphone, and you need and a headset or earbuds or something. It doesn't really matter. I just don't want my voice going into your speakers, because that doesn't. I'm already the worst DJ. I don't need anything else terrible happening. So if you would like to come on air, please just put a 1, the numeral 1 into chat, and I'm absolutely happy to have people join and. Relax. I'm happy to have people join, and you guys can, ask me whatever you want. We can cover questions. If you just want to ask questions in the chat, you're able to do that. So it's up to you guys. Neil, if you want to come on, you can go rip me one. But I don't know. If somebody wants to. Yeah, he can just come on air. Wasn't there a wrapped DEC land airdrop? Yeah, the first pieces of land went out already. So those went to the various addresses. Oh, I hear somebody. Who's that? Is that Mr. McSpadden?
That is Mr. McSpadden.
Hey, and Gerber's live on air? Gerber, did you get dragged here? I didn't pull you in.
Gerber said -1, so Ron probably needs to look at.
Yeah, that's what you get for. I did not get a regen. I was under strict instructions not to apply for a regen, so I withheld. I think if I had gotten a regen today, the number of people that would be interested in murdering me would be higher. Matt did impress me, but he made the right call. Matt and I were like, we're sitting there being like, man, can we even hit 30 of these? And now it's like, how dare you not design better? You terrible human beings, how could you ever? And like, it's a lot of vitriol, and we're like, holy crap, we never expected anything like this.
Yeah. Well, for posterity purposes, why don't you describe what happened and led up to this point?
Fair enough. That's a good one. So we announced the details of the land sale. So we need money to like build this whole land project. So let me go even further back. We had a goal, And we thought that Splinterlands, right now, it's just a blind pick game. And we wanted more than that. One, because it's more fun. Two, because it's more strategic. And we don't want to like do 3, 4, 5 kinds of things like this. We just felt like the game as it exists, it's two people making a blind decision. We want one decision that is not blind. So to do that, we said, I want to do... we collectively decided we want to put items and spells in. And so when we did items and spells, we asked ourselves, well, how are they going to get them? And Matt and I said, well, we could just sell these in packs, but that's really boring. So what we want to do is sell these things so that we want to do land, and then if you make improvements to land, then you are able to mint the items and spells. Now, as soon as we did this, we had some players that got like really brutally mad at us for daring to do this. So on the one hand, we've been told that this whole thing would be horrible and never work, and the players would hate it, and it's a terrible, terrible system. And often it's used as the term is money grab. When we talk about how we actually put this together, we started with what is the cost to do this, and then where is that going to come from? It wasn't how do we make as much money as possible in this. It's what will the damn thing cost to make. And then we worked backwards from there. And then we also were trying to figure out what should a land plot cost. And, in other games, these things can be hundreds or thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. We do want it to be more exclusive than the cards, but we also want it to be attainable for regular people, and especially people that have been here for a while. So we said, you know what, we'll do... When you do Kickstarters, Kickstarter is normally like a completely done project, and you are just announcing that to the world. I have done that before, and we've raised money doing Kickstarter. I've attempted Kickstarters in the past where I didn't have a functioning product, and I'm like, this is what I'll build, and I was unsuccessful raising anything. So my experience doing these kind of crowd funds is that unless the whole thing is completely done and ready to go, you don't typically get interest in it. Now that's a little bit different than a lot of the ICOs or something like that that's out in crypto land. But my personal experience, even as kind of a everything Splinterlands is going to the moon personality, I was kind of hesitant or reserved about this because the entire plan has been, I don't have land to offer you. Like, yes, we can make a token that represents it, but I can't give you the actual land yet because we still have to develop it. And we were very upfront about this. And so even under our most aggressive thought patterns around how would people choose to participate in this, the demand far exceeded our expectations. And so when we announced it, the first response was something like, well, why don't you guys just then accept everybody that wants land at that price? And the challenge with that is that if you leave it open, who knows how many of those plots go to how many, singular people. Somebody could buy out the whole thing at half the cost, and we wouldn't have enough money to develop or enough to like do further sales or invite other people to partake. So that's like a really nerve-wracking place to be in blockchain. So we said, what we're going to do, we put out the post. There was interest in the way that we did it because, like, hey, we said this is how many are available, and then people reacted to that in that they wanted them. So it sounded like, we were thinking there would be a large struggle to create enough demand for this, and there was some demand, and we said, okay, well, maybe we'll actually get, some portion or a good portion of these sold. So we said, look, we're going to stick with this, but we're worried about the free-for-all nature. The players were concerned. They didn't like just that one time, and we said, all right, well, how can we do this differently? And so before anything got sold, we said, all right, I don't think we can just open this up for time because there's zero control in that, and there's a possibility that the project doesn't get funding or the funding that it needs to build this damn thing. So we're going to stick with the amount that we said we would do, and but we're going to lottery it. We could have raised prices. We could have, you could pay money or burn DEC to hold the spot or something. And we said, no, we're not going to do any of that. The players will just accuse us of money grabbing. Even if we burn it, it's, that's not fair enough. So what we decided is that we would just do a straight lottery system. And so anybody that purchased a region would be able to enter into the lottery. Now, the pools came along as well, and we said, all right, we want to facilitate this. So we not only did the lottery, but we made it so that it was easier to pool. And specifically, we knew that there would be a bunch of minnows that would want to own individual plots that wouldn't want to pool. And we said, okay, we will put those into their own separate thing. We don't think there's going to be very many of them. It's unlikely. We're worried about even that part selling out. So we're going to make it this smaller portion but it's going to be carved out so that you can't even buy a region in it. You have to buy plots or tracks. And so we carved that out thinking this is probably big enough and it's maybe even more than what we ought to do, but let's put that in there as sort of like a protection or insurance to make sure the smaller accounts can get in. And one unexpected consequence of the lottery system was that the transparency in terms of how many of these things were getting purchased actually ended up sort of fueling the demand. That as more and more people saw, all these other people are going after this, we might not get into the first pre-sale, and now there's even a threat that we don't get into the second pre-sale. It kind of launched extra people to start trying to get additional plots into the system so that they could hopefully get even just one of them. So our design was around, we don't think there's going to be enough people to do this, but here's about where we need to be and what we think this will look like. And let's do this lottery. It does seem like there's some demand. Why don't we put a lottery system in and make sure that there's as much fairness in this as possible, and that it's not just whoever spends the most is able to get them. It's, anybody that pays this amount is eligible to get it. And they don't have to be individuals. They can be groups. And that's what we went with. So what happens then? So we had today where I actually thought that the lottery part of it went exceptionally well. I think in hindsight, at least in my brain, it would be better to go add lotteries kind of across for tracks, for regions, and for plots. We didn't think that there would be nearly this demand, so we didn't worry about that to that extreme. We carved them out, but we didn't say, these are going to need a lottery too. But as that demand kept going higher and higher and higher, it got we got up to 50 something, and those three that people wanted, instead of in the lottery itself, we were shocked that there's almost 2 to 1, 2 buyers for every one region. Well, when you got to the next level of that, the current, the free-for-all, now it was 10 to 1. And then it looks like, although I'm not positive, it looks like we actually got a DDoS attack right at the same time that the website got hit for with the timer for land. We're still investigating this, but it looks like we got a DDoS attack. So the server crashed. It's possible that this was entirely about it's possible it was just high player demand and literally everybody in the game on the system in the exact same moment. it's possible that bots that were trying to get in were somehow badly programmed or something, and that they all started spamming the server all at once. That's a potential, and it's potential that somebody maliciously attacked our servers right at that time. So we're still investigating that, but it did crash the site. But within the first, with all of that demand, we had, Matt's first number that he gave me was 25 seconds. Is how long those 3 regions lasted, and the entire thing was gone 25 seconds after it started. So in retrospect, like the lottery system, I actually think is great. Maybe not the full application of the lottery to go, give each different set like closer numbers or something where it's not just 27 for regions. I know it didn't end up as 27 for regions because like lots of people were contributing to pools. I was amazed by just how many pools there are. That was fantastic. And we tried to facilitate that. We wanted people to get in with the best discount. We thought it was a great plan to sort of allow people to spend less and participate as a group. So we helped facilitate some of those. But as I'm trying to do sort of a debrief or breakdown or postmortem, I want to look through like, I think the lottery worked really well. Maybe we should have done more lotteries for the tracks and the plots, so that those regions could be lotteried off as well, and we would stick through this. I mean, like, the opposite, the other end of these things are like, all right, well, we just throw away the land sale plan that everybody liked and we do something totally different, which isn't fair to the people that are purchasing it. I mean, it might have been prior to the land sale going live, but the second that we did a land sale and the second that somebody bought something in the land sale, it's no longer fair for us to start like completely reworking the details of how that would work. One bot had a false start. That's hilarious. So I think, in my brain, there were parts of this that went brilliantly. There were parts of this that were frustrating. There were parts of it that went terribly, which, after a little bit more looking, it does seem like we may have gotten a DDoS attack. Still investigating. Matt's specialty is kind of like building apps. He's less of a server operator, although he is quite skilled at it. But this is now getting kind of escalated above what we're used to, so we're taking some time to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would be surprised if it was a malicious DDoS, and just gut feeling, I think it's more likely just huge traffic.
Well, we're looking. I mean, it does seem like there's one address that is spamming more than most. So Matt blocked a particular IP address that kept hitting our servers, which is generally a sign that it's a DDoS. But and there are some previous players that have some dev experience that could look at a big moment like this in the game and choose to attack us. And there could be competitors that get frustrated when we run around and say we're the number one game in crypto, that would like to take a day like this and take a shot at us. So those things are possible. I'm not ready to say that's what it is and that's how it happened and this is who did it. I'm not positive that it even happened, but there are servers that are spamming the system, and even now I think they're still hitting it. So we like blocked the IP and it's not coming at us and it's still there. So maybe that's an accidental thing. Maybe it's a server set incorrectly. Maybe it's a DDoS and they don't care and they're just going to keep attacking. I don't know. We're still trying to isolate what it was that literally brought down the site. and certainly having the single biggest moment of traffic on the website at once was either the contributing factor or a contributing factor.
Sure. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to point out that I think people are overlooking is, you talked about how the if you make it open-ended, then the whales come in and everything. Is that the thing that people have not, at least not mentioned that I've seen, is that in a game like this, the distribution of assets is critical. Because if you have one whale come in, and I was actually talking to a whale, you know this, but the audience doesn't. I was talking to one whale who was thinking about maybe just buying out all the regions, just 30 regions, one transaction, and be done with it. With the idea of either selling later or using the items and spells to then control the market. But you need a wide enough distribution, just like any kind of currency, to get that network effect to make things actually work. And I just think it's an overlooked factor.
Yeah, I mean, we look at how that one portion of this that was just the free-for-all portion, I would argue that went badly. Not only because of the site went down, but just like, there's a ton of angry players about that one moment.
Right.
And that's, we want this game to be fun, and FOMO is good for the game. But, that level of frustration, anger, and anxiety, and hatred, and you've done everything you can to abuse minnows, and this game is only for the whales, and that I don't mean to totally dismiss that sentiment, but just that level of vitriol is not good for the game.
Right.
And I think when that lottery happened, there were a lot of people that were like, I hate my luck, and I hate this RNG, and I hate that, but they weren't saying I hate Splinterlands. And
Right.
when the free-for-all failed, they said, I hate Splinterlands. And that, so in the design, what I'm grateful for is that Matt and I made the decision of we were going to do the lottery for 90% of it, and 10% will be free-for-all. So I can't imagine how bad today's reaction would be if it was 100% free-for-all like we initially planned. I think the lottery was an incredible addition in terms of fairness and transparency, and secondarily it made that FOMO with that count going up and everybody could see it go up. So the FOMO is great, but obviously it makes these tensions so freaking high that
Right.
It's not just, hey, I'm frustrated I didn't get land. It's, hey, you thieving, crooked, stealing, whale-loving bastards, how dare you?
Well, I was personally very surprised at how many pools got together and actually managed to, enter the region lottery.
Yeah. So somewhere I have a link that has all the API or the. Well, I actually don't know if it'll even work right now because we're still getting hit by that stupid the API thing, or So it's down. So the main API is not, either my computer isn't working or something's going on with that. We had to switch to the backup servers. So I can't load this one screen, but there were out of those 50 pools, there was a single guild that would have 3. The Germans, I think, had 3. There were a couple groups that came in with multiple pools, and it wasn't just one whale doing. The most I heard from a single whale was 2 that they put in.
I think Matt Clark was in for 2.
Matt Clark was in for 2. I think there was 1 or 2 others that were in for 2, and I don't know that any of them got 2.
All I know is I did not get 1. So.
Sorry, Neil. I saw your message pretty quick of we'll pay 8250 for.
That's right.
For land.
That offer's still good, by the way. If anybody wants to flip their region, it has to be a region. If anyone wants to flip their region for a quick, 10% profit, DM me. Uh, yeah. So I mentioned to someone that at least it proves that the RNG was fair, because I would have just bribed you and just gotten a region.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I know people are concerned about that, but we do have a 2-year history showing that we don't do this of like manipulate who gets stuff, or we're so damn good at it that all the players, especially those that hate my face, haven't found it yet.
yeah.
So I mean, I'll just say we don't do that stuff. Like, we want this game to last. We're here for years. We've been here for years. It's transparent. So, I mean, it's not right this second because the damn thing is down. But I don't think I don't think this is entirely our fault for today. I think we're actually getting attacked. So,
Right. So going forward, so the people who launched out on the lottery for the regions, if my understanding is, if they go in for the round 2 regions, they are guaranteed a region.
that's
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So everybody that participated today, and in fact, it looks like I think there were two that attempted to buy it and then might have screwed something up. But there's evidence that they participated before the end of the lottery, but they did something wrong. I would even extend it to them too,
Okay.
because at least that, like, the intention is clear. They sent a sum of $7,500 to us, and then somehow it didn't go through, and it was like not the last second. I think that there was some kind of human error in that. So they weren't picked, but it looks like there's 2 others. If they want out, they can get out, and they came in before the deadline, so I don't really want this to be, well, you messed something up so you don't get in. I mean, they paid the money, they tried to do it, they didn't get the land, so at least they didn't make it even harder. But I think Dave got 1. He had 3 pools that he was a part of, and there was 1 that guild or that group got. I mean, as far as I know, I don't think anybody got 2. Do you know of anybody that got 2, Neil?
I have not heard anybody claim that, but I've not looked at the actual winning list. It's Yasik posted it. Let's see. That's the purchaser. It doesn't say if anybody actually won or not.
Well, so those were some of the Team Possible got 2 of 3. All right, so at least Team Possible they had 4. That's pretty amazing. At least Team Possible was like all guild stuff. That's not really like one person getting 2.
Yeah. So Robbie said that I could ask some questions. Didn't have a mic ready when the offer was put out there.
Say that again.
I'm gonna bring this RAWBE, this user Robbie, I guess, has some questions. If you want to bring that person on, but while you're thinking about that,
yeah, anybody is welcome on. I don't see it in the chat, so I don't know who I'm pulling in.
I'll copy and paste.
Oh, Robbie. Okay, I see him. RAWBE. Live on air. Whoops, I put him in the wrong one. Thank you.
Yep.
So
hey,
hold on. He's here. Robbie, can you say hi?
Hi.
All
Can
right.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great, and I don't have
Okay,
any
perfect.
feedback. Welcome to the show. How are things?
Oh, good. I've been following. I kind of jumped back on board Hive kind of near the beginning of the thing. I kind of took some time off with the Justin Sun controversy, but I've always been kind of watching Splinterlands, and I've been really interested in the game, watching this whole thing go down.
Now, where are you from? You sound Canadian.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know how you sound Canadian, but
You sound Canadian.
suppose.
Well,
There's
first off,
definitely
you didn't start by yelling at me, so I'm assuming that you may not be an American to start with. But no, okay. Well, welcome from hopefully it's sunny Canada. and you had a couple questions. What was on your brain?
Yeah, I was just kind of I've been watching this whole thing unfold, and I noticed just from the starting post that you guys really propped up the whole land pool idea. Um, so I was just curious about that because you felt like it went really well, but like I just felt it was a little of a controversial proposition because we just dealt with a large thing with the whole Steam controversy, where there was a large pool of money that ended up getting passed off to Justin's son. So it just felt like it was kind of risky to me to get involved with a land pool, but there's huge advantage to it just from the way everything went down.
Yeah, I think the next one that we do, I'll at least I don't know if I'll resist or I'll get resistance from Yaba, but I think that um, I think having lotteries for individual plots and individual tracks will be good to add. So maybe reserving. I don't know. I think we're like 23 over, and I doubt that all of them are going to stick. So there's going to be something like 7 to 15 of these that I think we can lottery in 3 weeks from now. And I would advocate that some go to full regions, some are lotteried for tracks, and some are lotteried for plots. But I really like the lottery system. If anything, I think we should have done more of that lottery. And then if people wanted to come in for regions, you know what the I don't know. If you want the big discounts, then you still have to buy in like region amounts. But if you want the certainty of or like getting into the pool just for your one track, but not having to deal with other players in it, then I think doing it that way is good too. Um, so if anything, my short answer is I don't think we did enough lotteries. Is my short answer for that.
So I have a question related to that. Some people jumped in the Discord and were talking about how they are not Discord regulars and how they feel that they are at disadvantage because they are not sociable, in the community and therefore can't join a pool.
Yeah, I saw that. The one person that I saw elegantly articulate that was Anna Maria, who I think joined Discord specifically to tell us that, and I thought she made a pretty good argument.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's true. I mean, if you don't engage with other players, then you're not going to be able to engage with other players. So, um, so I guess the question is does that matter to Splinterlands as an entity, and what is to be done about that, if anything?
So what I the last meeting that I had with Nate, and Nate is our game designer and like website designer, I said I think it's actually really important that we get chat embedded directly into the game, and not just guild chat, but like a system wide troll box. Um, and so I imagine that um, I brought this up with Matt a while ago, and he was like, I don't think that's our highest priority right now. And I said, you know what, that's okay. In part because I had built BChat for Hive Engine, and now we had like a Hive-wide chat. And I said, is this something that we want to do? And he says, I think we have higher priority things on the dev team. And I said, you know what, I can agree with that. And then part of my work and part of my design, I spent a lot of time watching GDC videos, which is Game Development Conference. And these are like the AAA studios and independent gamers, and they give talks. And one of them was about Clash of Clans and how they were building community and kind of just talking through what it's like to build a multi-year community. And I walked away saying, you know, the game being fun will come and go, and you'll get the grind, and other times it'll be awesome, and where you are in life it'll change how much time you want to play something. And there's a financial aspect, and you might want to earn, and you might want to trade cards or trade land or do all this other stuff. But that kind of stuff I think will come and go too. But the one thing that makes for really, really sticky, long-lasting everything is friendship. And so as I've been thinking about how do we really build the Splinterlands community, after watching that video, I said, I think I've misprioritized just how much community building has to come through things as simple as an in-game chat system. So it is higher on my priority list. And one of the last things that I had actually shared with Nate is we need a way for players to be able to communicate in-game and not have this in a separate spot. So I think, especially because of like guild tournaments and it's kind of a team event, you can't just get away with everything being in this separate Discord program. We want it to live there. So that's on my brain. And so some combination of facilitating communication through players directly in the game and simultaneously in future like restricted amount sales that we do. I think the lottery system worked really well. We needed to do more of that lottery system, not less. And I think in-game communication and more lotteries would actually get to that.
Do you mind if I... Oh,
go
go ahead, Neil. Oh. Do you mind if I just go back to my question before? Because it was just a little clarification that I was wondering about it that you didn't quite touch on.
This is
this
isn't Ask Me Anything. You guys, as long as you're not like attacking me and calling me names, then nothing is off the table.
So just with the whole pool thing, because the way everything went out, the people who were in the pools are obviously at a huge advantage. But like, I'm not saying you would have predicted necessarily what was going to happen with the free-for-all.
How are the people in the pools at a huge advantage?
Because they could access it without the thing. But anyway, I'll just... I was just wondering about the pools, because you guys heavily promoted them. And I actually was confused that a lot of people weren't aware of them, but I have been in the Discord for some time and like keeping eyes on this. But just to me, it feels like the pools, like that was just a really good way to join it, but it required a lot of trust of other people. And it just feels like it's kind of poor security culture on my end. Just having to trust these people in these pools. Yeah, whereas people who are already in established guilds, obviously there's that community behind them.
Yeah, I think that was a good chunk of Anna Maria's articulation of why it was bad. It wasn't entirely communicated to people that only operate in the game and not in Discord, and that community culture or the security culture that you discussed isn't ideal for that. And both of which I agree with.
Well, like Crypto Reaper was saying, if you're going to lone wolf it, then that's kind of the price you pay.
Yep. But the price that you pay if you lone wolf it should be you didn't get as big of a discount. It shouldn't be that you don't get access. And so when we did this, we specifically carved out 3 to say, let's make sure these guys get access.
Right.
And so our the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we purposely intended to carve out these 3 and say, this is for you guys. It's not for these whales. We're not. They can't even access it. You can't even buy a region in it. You have to buy these smaller plots. That's for you guys. So that's what we purposely attempted to do.
Well, 30,000 obviously wasn't enough to satisfy the demand.
Say that again?
I said 30,000 obviously wasn't enough to satisfy the demand.
Yeah. which was shocking to us. Yeah. So Inertia, the whole thing is sold out. The pre-sale, the first pre-sale is sold out. The entire thing sold out in 25 seconds from launch. So, in some ways for the game, that don't get me wrong. I said I would talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good side is that this is an absolute home run from a just talk to the press and write a press release about this. Is Splinterlands sells out of their first land sale in 25 seconds. That's an incredible headline. So I'm excited for that, grateful for that, enthusiastic about that. I think it's going to bring players from outside of our environment in. What is this land sale? How did they sell out? What are they doing? So I think certainly from a headline perspective, we freaking nailed it today. That is the best thing that could have happened to us. Now the bad part. So that was the good. The bad part is certainly that not everybody was able to get land. And I know that was really frustrating for a lot of people. And some would say there was bad design, but I don't know how to do it much better than what we did, because we gave a giant discount because there's we haven't produced any of the land or that portion of the game. I don't consciously feel good about asking for a full price of land for that. So another option could have been we just start offering land at full price and everybody can just buy the $20. There's no discount, and just if everybody wants access, it's at this price. Because you can still, if anybody wants to just, how about this? Anybody that just wants to get their damn land and they just want to make sure that they have it, maybe what we do is we just say, if you want to buy it at full price, then you can just do that now. So maybe the anticipation of that and the fear of that, before this thing even goes totally ballistic in the news, maybe that's something that we could offer just to make sure that people get it if they want it. No, the lottery worked for weeks. There was a lottery that people could participate in. 90% went to the lottery. That lottery was closed when the block hit. That was the end, and the lottery were distributed. There was an hour where refunds happened so that people could get whatever funds that they wanted to participate in the free-for-all, and the free-for-all is what ended in 10 seconds, or I guess it was 25. And it seems like we got a DDoS attack at that exact moment because we were, we were just announcing this is the exact moment that all this stuff starts.
So my next question is, have you read my post?
No, I haven't. I've had lots of things happen around here, and I've been a little bit distracted. But
Sure.
Do you want to give me the quick and dirty on it?
Yeah, the TLDR is that, so my suggestion is that obviously you have the people who lost out in the region lottery. You've already guaranteed them the space for the round 2. So however many of those decide to take up that offer, they take that offer. So above that, I would say, do a lottery, the same style lottery, of up to the first 25,000 plots in region chunks. And, you let that lottery complete and then have a couple hour break. And then you have another 25 tracks for a lottery. So the people who lost out on the region lottery of round 2 have the option to go in for the tracks, and then people who just want tracks to begin with, they can enter that lottery. And then whatever is unsold from there goes into the full lottery on the individual plot level. So it's just kind of a tiered sort of pour over, 3-stage thing. And
yeah, but so how many plots are you suggesting in those 3 total?
30,000, same amount.
I mean, if it's the same number, I think that's roughly where we're headed. The pour over from 1 goes into 2, Anybody that comes into 2 for whatever's left there, some people will get it, some will go into 3, but anybody that was part of 2 is guaranteed 3, as long as we don't go above 27 extra plots. I mean, maybe there's not a 3rd pre-sale because we just sell out in the 2nd one, and all those people are guaranteed their spot.
Possible. Well, I mean, obviously demand is going to decrease. Prices are higher, and 30,000 plots were sold. So at least some people got what they wanted out of it. Just not everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering though about you were talking about how the social aspect is so important for long-term stickiness. I wonder if there's a way. I mean, obviously, guilds are incentivized through discounts, which are nice, but they're not. They're not game changing. I don't think they're enough to.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the guild tournaments. Is
right.
really unite the team around like team sporting contest. It becomes sports ball. Hey, we're here with the immortal gods. So and so is talking. Tell us, how did you win? It's the whole.
By dominating.
What's that?
By dominating, because Immortal Gods is the best.
Yeah. Well, my defense was able to withstand their offense, and my offense was able to overpower their defense. And because of that, I killed everybody. Back to you, Sandra.
It's some real Madden level analysis right there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the dream of that. But with the guild tournament, you're going to have all these. There's communication because everybody has to start being like, all right, who's doing what battle, and there's at least some communication there, and like, how do we plan for the next one, and what didn't go well, and how do we tweak your gaming style, and all this other communication. Hopefully, that's all baked into that. Yeah. So.
Well, have you thought about incentivizing anything for guilds in the land sales?
I just go out and give 110% every time. Nice. Basil gets it. Yeah, we really put our heart out on the field today. So we were trying to just kill everybody. And, I think Valhalla would be proud of us today. All right. So what would you just ask me?
You thought about incentivizing being in guilds or guild use of lands or anything inside?
So that's what the shop thing is for. So one of the guild buildings that we're adding is a shop. Inside the shop, as you level up the shop, you get access to more and more powerful stuff. Not all of that stuff has been decided, but I think that the guilds will have access to some stuff that interacts with land, so that if you're in a guild and it's successful, you can harvest faster, or take less resources, or complete buildings quicker.
Now, would the guild have to own the land in order for that to work? Because I don't think this is a well understood mechanic.
Yeah, I don't think that's been fully decided how we want that to work. So I know Nate is like super keen on guild land. We haven't fully carved it out, but that's part of our development roadmap for sure. So I'm thinking, Matt and I on Friday of this week, I'm gonna go head out to. We actually have a rented corporate office that we use, kind of like a WeWork thing. So Matt and I are gonna go meet up in the office, and I'm sure we'll debrief this and. Think through whatever changes we're going to make for November 28th, and a lot of the purpose of that meeting is not just the debrief, which hopefully we thought we would just kind of our plan was to hopefully struggle through and get to like all 27 or all 30 and hope that players would get to all of them. We're still pretty overwhelmed by just how much enthusiasm there was, and certainly that enthusiasm turned a little dark when the whole thing kind of flopped.
Right.
But
well,
I am somewhat inspired that maybe it wasn't entirely our fault. I mean, if we're actually getting attacked at that moment, Maybe the blame doesn't entirely rest on our shoulders. Maybe we should have, anticipated getting a DDoS attack right at that moment, but that's a little bit out of the scope of what was even on our radar.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat fair. But so, given the number of people that were in the region lottery and the amount of traffic that we saw, in that 25 seconds, I think it's a foregone conclusion that round 2 of the pre-sale will sell out, even accounting for the fact that half the people drop out because of they're upset or.
I would love that to be the case. I'm not, even, man. I mean, today just doesn't make any sense. I mean, so I did the market cap command in Splinterlands Discord, and that's sitting at 5.7 million. That's the highest number I've ever seen in there.
Well, I just pushed it up by buying a bunch of cards, but
and then what if I do Uniswap deck? Uniswap deck. Well, that's fascinating. So right now, DEC is at 831 Splintoshis. So if you're looking to get the discount, if you're really upset that you are not going to get the same discount as everybody now, there is a 169 Splintoshi discount on DEC. So you can, if you want to participate through dark energy crystals, you can do that and actually hit that same value. That's fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of people have been selling. Got up to like 1060 or something like that.
And the liquidity is now up at 270,000.
Yeah, I added about 4 million dark energy crystals to the pool.
I don't know. Today doesn't make like a ton of sense to me. I don't know how to process today. I probably need to sleep on this. My brain will take a moment to work through it all.
You mind if I interject a little bit? I was wondering something.
You don't have to ask.
Yeah.
You just
It's just an interesting format. I haven't quite done a call like this. Well, I'm just really interested in this social aspect or whatever, because I don't know, there's been some good revealing information. You don't really know me, but just to give you some context, I've professionally played card games for quite a while. I play a digital card game where I don't own the assets, but I'm roughly in the top 100 players of the game. So I do okay with it, and I've been really interested in.
Is that Hearthstone?
No, not Hearthstone. Okay. No, I haven't supported Blizzard since that Hong Kong controversy. Nice. To be honest.
Liberate Taiwan.
Yeah, I have played Hearthstone. I quit around when Shutterwalk came out because that was ridiculous.
Fair enough. Yeah, I quit when Splinterlands came out.
That's fair. And I've been watching your game since you guys are there, but I don't think that the social aspect is necessarily that obvious. How important it is. It was really interesting to me how Byzantinist pointed it out. But I would desperately love to play the card game, but I have autism, right? So I would struggle at the social aspect. So I've just find it really hard to find a good entry point to the game. And are you planning to have the game to be continually super social, or do you think you would try to widen the niche to appeal to a wider audience, so people who...
No, I imagine that there's content that's individual and content that's group. And so, the most obvious group one is guilds. Although some of this land stuff will be there too. But yeah, you're gonna be doing if you're participating in guild wars and guild tournaments, then you're going to want to be communicating with your fellows. And I don't think it's as good of an experience to have that in Discord as it would be in the game itself. I mean, I'm not going to stop people from using Discord. Discord's a phenomenal program, and we modeled BChat after it so that when apps put stuff in, it would feel somewhat like Discord. but I think we got to get it. We got to get it integrated into the game. And the game, if Matt says screw BChat, I don't want to be a part of all of Hive Chat, and that's not the app, then that's not really the issue. I would hope that he chooses that, but I really think that that's Matt's call, and I will try not to lobby too hard for that. But that, whether it's BChat or not, I think is separate from the game is going to have kind of these guild tournaments, which is basically I come with a wrestling background. When I was a middle school, elementary school, high school, college, and even in grad school, I did wrestling for like 15 years, and wrestling is I actually think it's a pretty good parallel to this, because this is like an individual sport, but you're doing it as part of a team. So how you build matches and having weight classes and having those weight classes compete. That's a lot of the inspiration for how this will how these tournaments will play out, and some of what that looks like. But it's that neat mix of an individual sport with a team sport, and it's sort of the aggregate of individual performances. That's, we're kind of stuck with that anyways because of how the gameplay goes. So it's actually a really good background for this. But, not everybody's going to participate in Guild Wars, and not everybody's going to be part of a guild. So, you are not, the goal is not to force you to do that. The goal is to give to the people that are putting in more time, more stake, and have more skill, and time can be socially interactive or just games played or something. The goal is to have them be the most advantaged. Because that's what this game is. It's proof of skill, proof of stake, and proof of time. So it's not meant to punish you. It's just you can't reach maximum benefit without, interacting socially with something like a guild.
I have another question that's kind of related, and I know it was probably too early because it's not directly on the land, but on the social aspect, one of the things that I find the most interesting is the boss monsters update that you guys are planning.
Yeah, should be fun.
That'll probably only be accessible by a guild, right? Individuals probably won't be able to do it.
I'm not positive about that. In World of Warcraft, there's pug groups, and there can be guild bosses that would be guild only. I'm not stuck on just one. And Flavi, that's coming, man. We got to get through guild tournaments, and then boss fights is after that. So we certainly bit off more than we could chew, and we got, chain forks and other kind of fun delays thrown at us. But we're pretty well moving along, and the goal is to get the push right now is to get guild tournaments done by the end of the year. And whether or not that's going to hit exactly, I don't know, but that's our goal. And we want to get boss fights moving too. Those are kind of our two longest and most outstanding promises to players, and that's where we're targeting. So, and I think they'll tie into the land. Maybe not exclusively into the land, because again, I think this game needs some combination of, maybe the bear whale is or the whale bear is an individual boss fight, whereas fighting Cryptmancer is going to be a sort of a team boss fight. I'm not entirely certain. It's kind of just dependent on how early the player really wants to be in, because there were people that purchased boss fight monsters. So we have, I think, 5 or 6 of these, and the earlier that you are, the more likely it is that it's like an individual combat kind of thing, and the later you are, the more sophisticated we can make those combats. So if Randolph has been at me for a year of doing that. Yep. VC Dragon says paying 20% more is not fun. Well, it's not 20% more, it's 10% more. But
No, it's 20% more off of the 50% discount.
oh, I see. Okay, I see what he's saying. But
Going from 50 to 60.
yep, that is it is unfortunate that we can't build the entire system off of 50% discounts.
I think you should make everything free and then just give away all cards.
Right. I mean, I can't make jokes like that anymore because I'll get reamed in particular by Dave McCoy.
But I can.
But you can make those kind of jokes. You are not responsible to the community in the same way that I am. But
So here's a question. So you sold out of the first round, which is great. So most of the funds, at least from my understanding, is going to go towards development of lands.
yeah,
Do you feel you're in a good place financially for that development?
well, this certainly helps. The first land sale. This literally brings in the least amount of money of any of these different components to this. So I would say today is a wonderful, phenomenal success. Shit, I can't. Are you guys able to load the website, or do you see down for maintenance?
It's totally fine for me.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but for some reason I can't access my own site.
Yeah, I can see the site.
What is the market volume today?
Let's see the cards. Market volume 28,713 sales. Dollar value is 13,643.
Can you screenshot that? That's one of our
That's
highest
weird.
ever.
I actually have a different number.
Oh yeah.
At 28,668 and then 13,642.
That's interesting. Refresh. Well, it does change every refresh. So yeah.
Do you have the same number now, or is it different?
No, it keeps changing.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's not, well, it could go down because it's a rolling average, but when the volume's that high, it's not going to be static. So unless you guys refresh at the exact moment.
Yeah. So
I mean,
So
I don't know how to make sense of this. I mean, I have a set of players that are super upset, saying they'll quit the game, saying they'll sell off. We see some of that deck getting sold off, although I also see the Ethereum liquidity pool the highest it's ever been. So, and I don't just mean in terms of I mean the total value of that thing is as high as it's ever been. I see the market cap being as high. So I guess my sense is that we have a few super vocal, really angry players, and I think for the rest of this is an overwhelming, I need to get these cards, I need to buy this land, I need to play this game. At least that's what the market seems to be saying to me, but that is clearly different than what Discord is saying to me. Discord is saying I'm frustrated.
Actually, that kind of reminds me. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here just because I was watching it, but I noticed someone offer some speculation or just about the way, because you guys said that it's provably random or whatever. Yep. Between what they were, but because the formula wasn't published, you guys could have used multiple models and then just picked whatever one was the most favorable. This is not me, it's just something I saw mentioned on the land chat when I was trying to make sense of it.
Yeah,
could find the quote if you want.
No, I think I saw it. I'm not in a position to respond to that.
It's fair.
That's more.
I was wondering what your thoughts were.
Well, that's more on the dev side, right? That's not. I think if Matt didn't publish it, then it's either an oversight by Matt or there's some reason why not to. But the one thing I'm not concerned about today is, did Matt manipulate who got these? I'm the least. That is the least of my concerns. There is not a single portion of me that has any thought of, did Matt somehow change or choose models to pick that set of players. I mean, that to me looks like the biggest random bunch of lottery winners possible. I mean,
I would be highly offended I wasn't in that group.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like if I'm sitting in there and I'm manipulating it, then that's going to have a very different distribution than what it got. But that's not, like, that would be an extremely short-sighted thing to do, because the second that we put out any kind of verification and we show that it's this block and these winners and it's any other different pathway or something, then that gets real ugly real quick for the entire game. And we're not like rug pulling, we're not doing stupid stuff, we're building a damn land expansion. We like live our lives this way, we are like mission driven to do this. So that is that to me is like one of the most unlikely scenarios. Some players are going to leave just because they can't get the things their way or the price that they want. At some point in the future, they get unhappy and would leave anyways. Yeah, I mean, So one of the things that I both love and can't stand about blockchain is that it's entirely impossible to please everyone. Some people operate bots, and there's different aspects of how they do it. Some people hate bots and how they do it. Some people want to own as many regions as possible, and some people think if you own more than one plot that you're a terrorist. The range of what people think in this atmosphere is like so completely divergent that there is zero actions that I can ever take that will please everyone. There are actions that I can take that will displease everyone, but there's very, very limited things I could do. And in fact, I would go so far as to say there are exactly zero things I could do that will please everybody all the time. It doesn't work. Everybody has different interests. And so that is not my goal when designing. My goal when designing is sort of like, let's look at the resources we have. Let's do the forecasting the best of our ability. Let's make these things fair. And in some places we say, let's not make them fair, but there, at least it's this intentional process. And so like, it doesn't matter what thing we do. If we nerf a card, if we buff a card, if we put out a new card, we don't put a card, if we release a set, we don't release a set, like no matter what decision we make, somebody is sitting there being like, oh, I didn't like that, and sometimes it's angry, how dare you? But to us, these are things of like, printing new cards. If we want new players, you can't just say, buy this $400 gold foil Angel of Light. You have to be like, okay, here are new cards for new players to come into the game. So it's always this weird, tough, dynamic equilibrium that we are trying to establish. We think through it and work through it, but it's impossible to please everybody. And so, especially when we do something like a limited land sale, and we do our best to sort of like, how are we going to do this so we get even enough people? And the reaction is overwhelming. Like I guess in this case, we were off on our mark in terms of just how much interest we have, which was amazing. It means that we did a really good freaking design, and people were really excited about what we're putting out there, and they liked the art, they liked the images, they liked the premise. So that's phenomenal. But, in terms of the absolute, the good, the bad, and the ugly is obviously like, that free-for-all was just a cluster. It didn't work well. We got attacked at the time. The site went down. There's still lingering issues. Some of that is growing pains. This is literally our first one of these of like any type for this kind of lottery thing. I or for this kind of like premium content. So there's a lot that we can learn. But yeah, that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. We had an extraordinary day. 25-second sellout is amazing. We have frustrated players and angry players. That's the bad. And the ugly was that the damn thing crashed, which may or may not have been our fault. So,
Yeah, making fun of your quick flex.
how many people attempted the pre-sale today? Hundreds? I don't know. Can you tell us more about the development cycle and estimated schedule for the land upgrade? That's a productive question. So development cycle is broken down into initial design phase, back-end design phase, front-end design phase, and production, and then support. So when we talk about development, these kinds of projects are constantly in motion, and they're all along different stages of that. So the for Freedom, I'm not the right guy to talk to about the Uniswap liquidity stuff. I really, I guess maybe you have to claim them. I don't know. I don't mean to be ignoring your question. Hopefully Biz can help you, or Matt will help you. I don't have any sophistication to talk about that. I do hope to be part of the virtual Hive Fest. I'm assuming that's Roland. I'll talk to them. All right, development cycle. So what we're at right now, there's like a million things being developed all at the same time with different people at different spots. Because I didn't even mention art. So on art, we're working on making sure that Chaos Legion is ready, because if this thing goes into full bull market cycle, $1.5 million worth of cards remaining in the Untamed is likely to evaporate. So we're trying to get ready for that. So we have Untamed in the process. We have the land art and the building art. So on yesterday's AMA, we showed examples of the different art and buildings that we're doing. We have a set of art for items and spells, which have been around for a while. We haven't been able to go get to development of that. And so the actual art styles have changed since we've had them. So we might have to go back and redo some of our items and spells. So that's kind of out in the radar there. For the next piece of land that we're working on, now that we've actually sold some, we want people to be able to place it. So I have Friday's meeting with Matt. The number one reason that we set that up is to go figure out, what does Pretoria look like? What do these lands look like? What shape will they be in? How do you select your plots? How do you choose where to get them? I know that we only sold 150 regions, but there's going to be more than 150 regions. How do we spread those out? Do the players just pick? Do you get one pick, or then do you get to move things? How does this whole thing play out? So that's part of the development cycle that we're working on, and the fact that we don't have those answers is the reason why there's a 50% development discount to buying land now, and we are upfront about that. If us not knowing that is really offensive to you, then I would say that this first and second and maybe even third pre-sale are not good spots for you to come in. We're trying to be very transparent that it's being developed. The next major piece is trying to figure out all the various buildings and all the various items that we're going to create and how those things interact. One of the big focuses is really around what will interacting the buildings look like. I have some starting points for things that are a little more passive and a little more static, and we're on a path of looking for a lot more dynamic. So we're exploring, something that's kind of akin to like fighting the thing that you're crafting, and what might that look like. So we're deciding on a couple of those. So we're building some screenshots. So we have the items, we have buildings. Sort of last on the list will be some like, what does the economy look like? Because the economy is almost always like the very last thing. So one of the reasons why Matt hates it if I ever say a number is that the economy and like pricing and financials and staking and burning and maintenance or any of that, like until the whole system is as clear as we can make it, putting numbers on things makes no sense. It really needs to come at the like dead last moment. So we're going to be real coy on actual numbers for things up until the very last moment, because you need as much information, and the system has to be kind of set in place before we can say, okay, here's what's next. Or this is how the money side of this works, or this is how the token side of this works. All these buildings need loot tables. Any of the things you fight need loot tables. The buildings need like things that will make it go faster, things that might make it go slower. The world will probably get some weather effects, or maybe some lunar cycles, so that rule sets keep changing. So that's kind of the land series of stuff that's going on. For guild wars, or the guild tournaments, or guild brawls is what I think we'll end up calling them. For the brawls, the Cryptomancer has actually been coding the back end. I have some initial designs for screens, like simple wireframes of what that combat will look like, and hoping that in the next, 6 to 8 weeks it might actually go live. But development is so hard to figure out, like what's the exact time, in part because like the designers, meaning me and Nate and Matt, we sometimes change things based off of feedback as we show bits and pieces here and there. Like the damn collection power thing. Once Cryptomancer had the design, it didn't take him that long to build it, but because we couldn't agree internally on what was best, we actually asked Cryptomancer to rewrite the damn thing like 3 or 4 times, which is part of why that took forever to get out. It wasn't that coding it was super hard. It was that coming up with the rules system and the balance and how we wanted to track it and what that might look like was just, there were a lot of different competing reasons to do stuff, and so we had to figure out what we were going to do. Okay. I kept my eyes closed for most of that so that I wouldn't see things to distract me, but then there weren't a ton of questions, so.
Yeah, not too much.
I have a concern,
Yeah.
I'll try to phrase it like a question. Yeah, it's like I've been in the Discord for a little while now, ever since the Splinterlands Land, and there's just been some interesting, light controversy, because I had to get caught up on the J6969 situation. So, like a couple of weeks ago, I kind of noticed you were kind of venting a little bit about somebody who identified as a communist and how everything needed to be distributed fairly. And in response to that, Dave mentioned probably a more serious concern, and then you guys went to DMs and sorted it out. And it just just as a criticism, it just seems to me that sometimes maybe you prop the most vitriolic examples of like dissent, and then like it just would have been nice to kind of hear out Dave's concern. I could bring it up if you want, but I don't mean to rehash old stuff.
Well, Dave took my comment kind of out of context, and I can't blame him for it because the timing makes sense of how he interpreted it. We have people that literally come in here and tell me things like, "You dirty bastards and your money grubbing ways, and you charge for things." and like there's some level that this is a game that has capitalist elements and it doesn't have as many socialist elements. And for hardcore socialists, this game is actually really offensive to them. That you would buy things and some people could buy more, and that all the cards aren't free. And so literally I was getting attacked for that, and I was blowing off steam, like using that guy as an example of the extremist example that I get of like, the guy says, yes, I'm a hardcore super commie. He left the server, so like the data isn't still there. But by his own admission, he's like a super hardcore communist. And for them, there's literally nothing I think I'll ever be able to say about this game, because it like the theory of how it works and the card collection and spending money on things was just like entirely different. So when I was venting about that comment. And because it was sort of recently about it could have tangentially been misinterpreted as me sort of riffing on players that were upset about different parts of the land sale, which wasn't my intent. You know, when I get frustrated with players, it's because I've been in crypto for 4 years, and I think that there's only two complaints in crypto. The first complaint is I would like to spend less money to be able to earn more, and that should require less time. And nearly everything that I hear is some derivative of that. And I don't mean to make fun of that. It's just that is that's everything that I hear for complaints nearly always comes down to that. I would say that's about 90% of the complaints I hear.
Can I make fun of it?
What's that?
Can I make fun of it?
You want to make fun of it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You are welcome to make fun of it. I get in trouble if I break character from a super high level professional. You know, I told my first wife what I want to do in life is I want to sit around, I want to design games, and I want to make asinine comments for a living. That's what I wanted to do, and from that perspective, I have absolutely nailed my existence. Although, as this game grows, players are looking more for me to make fewer asinine comments and be more professional at all times, which was against my very mission when starting all of this. So I've had to slowly reel this thing in to become, I left the corporate world very intentionally. I can't stand that. I won't function very well in it. But at least in my own company, I can go kind of try to hold this back. So I definitely let some personality slip of making fun of a hardcore communist that, is literally attacking me. And Dave misinterpreted that to be like directly at him. So most of that conversation was around like, hey, let me explain this scenario. And one other thing that people might not know, I'm not... before I sort of woke up into crypto, I spent a good number of years as a progressive Democrat. And I know that can be a dirty word to people in crypto. And some of those things I still really believe. I think of myself as a populist. I think of myself as I want people to have good health care. I want people to have good education. I want them to have clean water. I want them to have clean air. I think people should have housing and that sort of thing. But then I look at the way that true people that are part of the system want to fix it, and I don't like their methodology. So my goal here is not to cater only to whales and screw the little guy and do all these other horrible big tyranny kind of things. I spent 30 years as a progressive and still think a lot about those values. The values I still actually quite appreciate. It's the methodology that I no longer ascribe to. So when people are saying I'm like some money grubbing person, I live a pretty modest existence. My car is like 70,000 miles and 10 years old. The house I live in costs under $100,000. um, the things that I do in my life are really not geared around material possessions. And when I do want materialistic things, it's so I can develop stuff in crypto to sort of create a better world for my kids and this universe. So a lot of those things don't really resonate. In fact, they're quite frustrating when I'm insulted that way, because it's not really my mission. But when the attack is so fundamental of like, how dare you build something that makes money, or you sell something, my true desire of just wanting to sit around, build games, and make asinine comments, I sometimes can't help myself. So hopefully that explains where that misunderstanding came from. I actually thought, when I read it again, I'm like, oh, I know why Dave's so mad. But that comment wasn't directed at Dave or really the like common player, because my riff against the common player is I want to make more when I spend less time and money. So that's my riff against the player. It's not like I don't. The comment that I made of like totally anti-capitalist and like really getting frustrated with just like the pure haters out there. I certainly wasn't channeling Dave at the time. I was channeling a communist that hates everything we're doing. And I'm like, we don't have anything to offer you. That's not what this is. But, it's a blockchain, so you can go build whatever. So if people want to go build a card game where everything is free and everybody gets all the cards, then that's a potential too. Maybe they'll make money. That's a long-winded answer.
I guess where my concern is, isn't, and I'm not necessarily trying to blame you for something per se, more just the optics about it, is that just the focus on the extreme examples kind of will maybe make more moderate dissenters feel like you're showing disingenuous slights because you're showing the most extreme examples.
Well, yes, but I'm not here to I wouldn't. My general plan is actually not to make asinine comments to reasonable players with reasonable concerns. Those I think I tend to just try to directly face half on, or face on, or I don't know what to call that, but head on. I think I mean head on. Those I choose to just answer directly. So the reason why I won't use moderate ones is because I actually don't want to mock the players that have moderate and realistic concerns. So I go to examples. Yeah, there's some clicking in the background. There's a second computer near here. For this time, it's actually not me. But they can hear, hey, kiddo, they can hear you clicking. So type less clicky. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's because I like these clicky keyboards. Sorry, guys.
Mechanical for life.
All right. Do you ever see in the future any gameplay in 2.5D with character motion and exploration? Yeah, I mean, I think am I dropping frames? I am not dropping frames. That's not me, guys. Not dropping frames. Hello. Oh, I know, but you're in Discord with me. This is about it is being recorded. Hello, on off. Ron, I think this is you.
Once in a while I hear it cut off.
Hello.
I hear you.
Well, I know you. Yeah, the people in this room can. I'm just waiting to see if the audience can. Yeah, let's get to the background. Now I forget what I was answering. Do you ever see a future gameplay in 2.5D? Yeah, we are steadily trying to improve the graphics and whatever else is in this game. I think elements of that are like we have vector graphics for land with the intention of animating them. So I do think things will have more motion. I don't really have timelines on that. I don't honestly fully understand all of it yet. So Nate and the design and art team will tell me here's stuff they're planning, but I'm still working on do I get all of this. So I can't answer like real development questions about that. We have 30 minutes left. So if there are there players that really feel like they need to get their voice heard? Because I wanna make sure you know you can be as angry or as frustrated as you want. I just want to make sure that you know if you talk to me, please treat me as a human. You know, with feelings and emotions and you know a conscience and a desire, whatever. But that said, if you're mad and you want to talk, I want to welcome you on air and give you a space to vent or share what's on your mind. You can also type questions. Again, we're in the Peace, Abundance, and Liberty server, so you have liberty to ask whatever you want. I would ask that you try to do it as peacefully as you can. Oh man, there's a bug on my screen. Yeah, I don't identify as a cat though. I think Flavi has a potentially a frustrated question. We'll see. And if you guys just want to come on air, just click 1. Or type a 1, and then I'll drag you on air. Yeah, that bug is really bothering me.
I have a quick one while you wait for a question to show up. I was just wondering if all 23 people in the that didn't get it end up doing it, that's 23 out of the next 30, so that would only leave 7 regions. Do you think that's enough kind of room to fix the maybe problems that you are, or do you think it's probably going to be like too scarce? Because it's 7 regions isn't a lot.
7 regions is not a lot, especially given the fear that we had and the FOMO we had today. I mean, this is the mixed bag of all this. Of like, you know, we set numbers, we stuck with them. We're not changing the numbers plan because it's not fair to the investors and the people that put money in to then be like, hey guys, we're doing it differently. You know how we. The fairness by which we deliver those plots, I do think that's kind of up for grabs, and that's okay. Assuming that it goes towards more fair rather than like, we're only going to give them all to Neil. Like, that's obviously not okay. But if it's an effort to make it as transparent as possible, I don't feel bad about that. But no, I mean, I think we're going to go through all of this again in 3 weeks. That the second land sale is going to come in, and there's not enough for everybody, and we'll have some lotteries, but people will still be mad at us because we can't. There's not enough. Apparently, there's not enough for everyone. You know, I made that joke with Matt, but when we were doing it, like we were saying, this is going to be a struggle to get here, but it's apparently it's way more successful than we had hoped it would be on the wildest end of hope. So
yeah, you said the same thing about the Untamed Kickstarter, though. So I feel like this is a theme.
Well, but you know, some of this is just Matt's personality, and Matt kind of reels me in. You know, I'm blue sky. Everything is going to be amazing. I'm like the Lego song of like everything is awesome, even when things are not. You know, but and Matt is definitely the conservative Eeyore between the two of us of. It's not going to work. We're not going to hit the numbers. There's not enough interest. The design's not good enough. He's a worrywart. So, you know, as we design, you know, but I guess in general, I feel like, you know, if I side with Matt on this and I reel it in some, then the worst case is there's FOMO. if we go my way and we double the amount of land or triple the amount of land because there's going to be all this expansion and everything's going to be awesome, and it sits there for months, then we're in a crap ton of trouble. So, the cost, the outcome of success is greater with my blue sky stuff, but the cost of failure is actually far greater and probably not worth the risk. So I end up siding more with Matt.
Fair enough. I do want to make sure that we hit some of these questions that are coming in, so I'll facilitate for you.
Go for it.
Flowey is saying, what is your opinion on how monsters are required as workers on land plots, which will obviously drive up demand for cards? Do you think this will have a major impact on supply?
That question's a little bit too financial for me to answer. I think your cards are going to end up getting staked into, like, basically put on cooldown as you are battling. Exactly, or as you're using them in a building or battling them as part of a building, because that's not decided yet. But I do think that the goal will be to add additional utility for your monsters that either puts them on cooldown or locks them into place, so you kind of stake them into the buildings. Not entirely certain how that will go, so it's hard. First off, I can't tell you if that'll have a major impact on supply or not, but we are focused on adding another use case for monsters besides battling other players. So that's as much as I know specifically now.
Sounds good. Ryan 600 is saying, will different types of lands only have a specific monsters or magic? Like a swamp wouldn't be able to have fire magic.
We're building charts like that, and they're actually pretty substantial charts. So I don't have stuff like that like in my brain. But like it just simply, like, you can't build a fire thing on top of a lake.
So things will be thematically consistent.
Yeah, it should be thematically consistent. But like it's all arbitrary. So like what I consider thematically consistent, you might not. But I think internally it'll at least it should be consistent with whatever I think is systematically consistent. So
as long as you understand aggro brain.
Yeah, in an aggro brain, it should be like, this is good against that and sort of neutral against that, and bad against that. So I'm sorry for this. I'm a chemist, and I think in terms of bonding for electrons, you have a bond, a neutral bond, and an anti-bond. And I applied that same logic to lands, that some lands will have benefits for some type of activities. It'll be neutral for other activities and actually be a negative in other activities. So there are actually fewer examples where you just can't flat out do something, but there are examples of it. But for the most part, it's more like bonuses and deficits rather than allowed or not.
All right. And Solo is saying, so Splinter Planet's next?
Yeah.
Is that?
No.
Lewis 88 is saying there must be placed a monster on every plot to produce things.
That's still TBD. We actually have more than one design that we are thinking through and working on. So,
okay.
But I imagine, as we said, the monsters will be involved. The summoners will be involved in harvesting, crafting, and all that. So,
all right. Fair enough. So Flowey is saying, how many plots will one person need to build all different items and spells available? Maybe leaving out ultra rare drops to keep your reason.
Still TBD, because we have a set of buildings that we're thinking, but it's sizable and intentionally sizable.
I mean, I've done a little bit of speculative math on this subject, and it came out to like 2 or 3 regions worth of stuff. So,
well,
it's a lot.
Like literally every single potential outcome, maybe, but I don't know. I haven't done the math, and none of it is final. I don't. I don't have enough information. I can't tell you. But part of the good thing is that you don't have to do all of this. In fact, you have to do exactly none of it because you aren't required to. This isn't a required part of the game. You could just rent a couple items and spells, like you rent summoners and monsters, or you buy a couple summoners and, or you buy a couple items and spells, like you would a couple of summoners and monsters, and you go on. The question is, are you doing this in packs, or are you doing this from other players? But if you don't have a mega deck of items and spells, then it's still a race with everybody else that you're competing against, and so you'll end up landing based off of your skill, time, and deck, just like always.
Great. And Basil was saying, you mentioned battle in order to craft earlier or something like that. Could you expand, or did I misunderstand?
What is he asking?
You had made a comment, I think you said battling against the thing that you're crafting. I think that's what he's talking about. Could you expand on that?
I don't... there's not enough consensus to really flesh that idea out, but something like PvE versus the thing that you're crafting. So I mentioned a little about having, like, you're still using monsters and summoners, but there's different win conditions. This stuff is still, it's the whole reason that we're doing this pre-sale is that we don't know these things. So maybe by Friday I'll have more answers, particularly around how land placement will work. But I don't have answers on what it'll look like for what crafting and resource harvesting will look like. It might just be like worker placement. It might be kind of a battle system with different rules. There might be a third option in there, but it's very exploratory and very, very early on.
That reminds me of another criticism I've seen that I think is valid in the Discord about the whole land pre-sale process.
About what?
The whole pre-sale process from plants. And the different levels of discount, the 50%, the 40%, and the 30%. So whoever made this point, I apologize for not remembering who to credit, said that normally the discount is going to be related to the level of information and uncertainty that we have. So we don't expect a great deal more certainty between now and 3 weeks from now. So how is that justifying an increase in price?
So I guess one of my main answers there. First off, I do hope that you'll get some clarity if my meeting with Matt is fruitful and goes as planned. Then I'll start being able to share. Here's how the land drop or the land claiming process will work, and that will be a big chunk of this that will then be explained, and that helps dictate that. But also, the guys that are part of the second one have the financial information of the first. Not everything is necessarily just the game itself. Some of it is how many lands have traded. What have they traded for? What is the current price of a tract, a region, or of an individual plot? How many of them were sold? How many are in hands? Who owns them? What amount do they own? And all of that information is available on the blockchain. And so I think that actually matters quite a bit, and part of the reason why, in addition to what I hope will tell about the land claiming process, will also give you like a ton of financial information that just informs the players. You are taking less of a financial risk in the second one, knowing that the first one had roughly double the number of people, if not more, that were interested in purchasing regions than what were available.
All right. I think
Digit spend, for time frame, basically all of 2021, we're expecting to be focused on primarily the land. And what that means is not, in December of 2021, we say, here it is, guys, come play. It's like a phased rollout where, like the claiming process comes in, and then maybe there's the harvesting, and then after that it's a crafting, and then maybe after that you're doing the dungeons and the more advanced things, and then after that we start working on some of the regions that the game controls that have kind of special events in it. Yeah, I think if you I don't know. I'm still seeing. Freedom's asking, can we trade these things? When I log into Splinterlands, last time I did this, for some reason I couldn't load the game. Yeah, it still shows me down for maintenance. What if I do Control F5?
You got to clear your cache.
Yeah, I got to clear my cache or something. So I can't log into the game. But I think there's a button for the people that have land to go tokenize land, and then you can trade things on Hive Engine because there's corresponding plots, tracks, and regions over there. So I think the answer is yes, but I'm not 100% confident because I can't open the website.
We can ask Crypto Reaper to tokenize and see if that works.
Yeah.
I have a quick one. When I was watching the other Discord, I noticed Vitrio had mentioned that he thought it was unfair that I know you guys didn't expect the thing. Anyway, I'm just kind of reflecting his opinion. He was saying that in order to be able to get in on it, you had to know to access the most efficient nodes, or else there was no way to get in. So there was kind of a unfair for having such a technical advantage. I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Which part? What's the technical advantage?
Vitrio had mentioned in the Splinterlands Discord about the only people who really got to access it because it went so fast were people who had already went on the most efficient, the least latency node.
Right. I mean, that's why we did the whole lottery, is to go get rid of that stuff and just give it.
For the remain.
Yeah. Well, when I look at what went well, I'd say that the lottery approach was great. If there was a failure of the lottery, it's that we didn't do enough of it in enough ways. But the lottery in general was fantastic. But the free-for-all really left a bad taste in people's mouths, which was only 10%. I don't know. The lottery is meant to address that.
Anarchist, you have to move to the U.S. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, 3 a.m. Well, that's the other thing, is that, we didn't want, the same reason that we have to do anytime tournaments is that we're a global game. We're in 142 countries. And you can't build a system that's fair to everybody unless you give, advance notice and lottery things out. I mean, the other option, instead of lottering things out, is you make people pay more, and you make them pay for spots, either through burning or just paying us more. And that, that would be a money grab. And we said, let's not do that. Let's just do, this is a price we're saying that we're going to do it. This is what our budget is. This is where we're planning. And so anybody that's participating pays that. And then, I mean, it's hilarious. It's not hilarious, but that's what just rubs Matt and I the wrong way. Of we sit there and say, how do we get the funds that we need, but also make this as fair and not just a whale thing? And we come up with ideas like lotteries where nobody pays more; they all pay the same for the entry fee, and even still, it's. There's vitriol, especially when you don't get the land. So, I don't know. We're doing our best. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry that some people didn't get land, but I would say that anybody that's accusing us of simply doing, whale stuff or whale beneficial things, they're not part of that, and they're not part of those discussions that Matt and I have where we are literally trying to design around the opposite. Nine minutes, Neil. What else are we doing?
I feel so much pressure.
Oh, excuse me. I'm so tired.
Yeah. Stress will do that. All that adrenaline dumping. Is that you clicking, or is that your offspring?
That's my offspring. She's playing Minecraft.
Got to teach her how to Python that, so, automate all the boring stuff.
That would be fine.
I don't know. Question. People seem to be bent.
Yeah, I know that there's a bunch of people in here. I'm assuming maybe the angry people didn't show up.
Well, I know some of the angry people are not in here specifically.
Yeah, some of the angry people are taking their ball. They're going home. To hell with this. We did everything wrong.
Yep.
How dare they? They charged. There's not enough for everyone.
On the not enough for everything, when I've been banging the drum on my show and just in general, that user growth is everything to this game. Because if we stay the same size that we are now, eventually the appetite for activity will decrease and the game dies. So, I don't even have a full deck of Untamed personally because I don't really feel the need. And that's me who owns a ton of cards. So, with that in mind, I like the headline aspect of Splinterlands sells out lands in 25 seconds, all that kind of stuff. And I guess what are the plans to leverage this into more users coming in from external to what we already have?
Yeah, we hired a PR company. So I think that'll be a big deal. I mean, I'm not, it's so weird. I can't. I want, my inclination is to hype the crap out of who we just hired. They're a pretty great group, but at the same time, Matt's inclination is to level set everything. So I'm going to tell you it's a phenomenal group capable of nothing, and there won't be any difference. Everything will be exactly as it is, but at least we made this attempt. And but these guys have worked with Fortnite in the past. I do hope that they're able to go get us some more mainstream coverage. Because after 2 years of doing this, I kind of think coverage wags the dog, and that everything else is downstream of that. So trying to get players that aren't reading about this in articles of where they naturally look is harder than after they've seen it, but only after that, not a promotional, but some story about it. And so, what I've found in that industry is that a lot of that is relationships, though. You have to know the guy that runs the story, and we don't have the bandwidth or the capability for that, so we're outsourcing it to people that already have a lot of those relationships and hoping that enables us to get more story stuff out there. So I'll leave the name out so that it's an anonymous group for now. I was impressed with them. I'm hoping it makes a difference. Maybe it won't, but we'll have hopefully more focus on press and more air coverage, as we like to talk about it. Digit Spin is saying, do you see the funding raised will be enough to cover all the ideas expressed? No, not in the first pre-sale. It will take, I don't have Matt's consent to say how much our expenses are, but it costs a fair amount of money to keep, 9 or 10 people with attorneys and accountants and contractors and everything going. So, 200,000 is a amazing day and one that we are grateful for, and it's fantastic. That is still kind of a drop in the bucket for how much it costs to build software at this level. So just the first pre-sale, no. I think if we sell out of all 3 pre-sales, it's still too tough to say. I mean, that's part of padding, and like development is more like research, where as opposed to manufacturing. Manufacturing, we make 10 nails a day and we operate 10 days, we'll make 100 nails. Research is more like we have 4 computer scientists working on it, and whenever they get their breakthrough, it'll work. And that it's some combination of luck, hours, skill, and but it's certainly not certain.
Yeah.
So that's
interesting.
Our challenge.
The IRS agrees with you, and part of the terms of the increasing research activities credit. So Paul's asking, is Brave paying dividends at this point? Do you have any stats?
I don't run the numbers on that, and I'm not prepared to answer that. But I do think, I'm pretty certain that last month was the highest month for user growth out of any. But I don't know that for certain. Certainly paid user growth. Actually, I shouldn't say certainly, but I think paid user growth was the highest, and we wouldn't have done that without both Electronium and Brave. What are your next plans regarding Alpha SBT fan art shop using NFT showroom as a platform to trade future skins? I think I have Matt's consent to make like a separate showroom that would be called like Splinter Skin or who knows what. But obviously this land stuff is like totally overwhelming my brain. But I have had some conversations about that. Maybe I can nail some stuff down on Friday when we actually meet, but that seems to be agreeable. We've already said that's really meant for skins, so maybe either it's official skins or maybe it's potentially fan skins. I don't really know what that is yet, but I think I have some consent from Matt for that plan and doing something with that.
Just on that, I think there's a huge opportunity for fan skins. You'd have to moderate it to the extent that you can't do something that's unrecognizable.
But on front ends and certainly in the game, we can take stuff down that's inappropriate. This has been meant as like a family-friendly thing from the beginning. So
I'm not even concerned about like lewdness, as I am just like not being able to recognize what your opponent is playing.
Yeah. All right, we have 2 minutes.
I have a quick one. If you
super quick.
I was just had a thought because you were talking about getting a PR firm for advertising, and I was wondering if maybe you had any thoughts on making the game more accessible to new players, because the proof of stake to start might be like harder to access.
Yeah, so what we started by putting in a new player tutorial, and we imagine other tutorials coming in shortly, or not shortly, but those are on the list. All right, we have 15 seconds, but getting new players is huge. Network effect is huge. Thank you to the players for your understanding. We had a good, a bad, and an ugly day today, and we're very grateful that you stuck with us. Thank you, and please be excited with us. And that's what.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah, that's done.